All right, and we are live. Hello, everyone. I am Coley. This is SNX Radio, and today we have a very special guest on. It's actually one of my favorites. We have Stephen Bassett, and I'm just going to tell you a little bit about him here in about 2 seconds. Stephen has done so much for the community in post-disclosure. He's a researcher, public speaker, activist, lobbyist, and he's going for post-disclosure, which means to end the truth embargo. He's organized numerous events and campaigns, the Paradigm Research Group, PRG, and he's also a part of, he's organized the X conferences, and most recently, he is with the Hollywood Alliance and spoken. It's so impressive to audiences in 20 different countries about the political implications of ET and UAP. So his advocacy work has been covered by national media such as CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, Washington Post, and New York Times. So he's appeared in documentaries and all sorts. He's co-founder, as I said before, of the Hollywood Alliance, and they're presently working to help bring about even more comprehensive congressional hearings in the U.S. House and Senate for a growing list of UAP UFO witnesses. So he's done some amazing work. And last time he was on, he spoke about post-disclosure, how close we are, and what implications that would mean for the experiencers. So I kind of wanted to go into that tonight. He's got some interesting stuff to show us, so I can't wait to see what's going on and give us an update on what's happening in Washington. I'm not sure if anybody knew, but he is the first lobbyist for the UFO phenomenon. So it's an honor to have you today. So
Hi.
Welcome, Stephen Bassett.
Hi, Coley. Good to be with you.
Hello. Yes. So, I don't know how you want to get right into this. Like, I know last time we had a conversation, and everybody, everything. It seems like it's changed. The media, I'm seeing it all over now that people are openly talking about, the UFOs, the UAP phenomena, and just with everything that's going on in the news, that seems like a huge jump in progress. So, I guess in your opinion, you kind of think we're getting closer to ending that truth embargo and going post-disclosure. And I kind of wanted to go what that would mean for the experiencers and actually what that would mean for the rest of the world and what that would kind of look like in your work. And
the consensus is building that we're very close to disclosure, finally. I've been saying we've been close to disclosure for a very long time, but I try to put an edge on it, and I try to be too emphatic, but now it's really increasingly apparent. There's a lot of reasons for this. There has been tremendous progress in terms of legislation. There's been 8 hearings since 2022. Media coverage has been off the scale, just almost 3,300 articles triaged in my print media archive. I'll show you that in a bit. In the last 2 years alone. Right, 1,800 last year and 1,400 and some this year. A UAP caucus was created in the House. Okay, several House members have said on camera that there is non-human tech in our skies, non-human entities in our skies, and so forth, and confirming David Grush's statements to the House Oversight Subcommittee in 2023, and that was on June the 5th. June the 5th is when he came out. The hearing was on July what was that? I think it's July the 9th, I think. I'm not sure. I need to know that.
Yeah,
anyway,
right.
So that's happened. And then, of course, starting 2 years ago, the ETs, as I like to call them, or non-human intelligences, started conducting some sort of initiating what amounts to another UFO flap. Now, a UFO flap is known, that's the phrase used over the years, for a lot of sightings happening over some time. Not one or two, but like number of sightings, multiple locations certainly might go on for weeks, could even go on for months. There have been a number of these since 1947. What started 2 years ago was the biggest UFO flap ever. It was kind of not that well known. It took a while to start really starting to catch people's attention. I get that. Plus, I think they escalated their activity as well. We'll get to that. But the first inkling that I had that something was in the works is when a video came out, I think in early 2022, and got, like so many videos, a lot of traction on the internet. And this video was about objects that were, quote, swarming around a United States warship off the coast of San Diego at night. Okay. And a lot of people go, ooh, what's that? And it got a lot of attention and so forth by people. It was one of so many videos that get turned up there. People that are familiar with this subject and familiar with the history of this saw something else. And so what I saw, is a U.S. warship with what seemed to clearly be drones, more than one, moving around this ship in close range. And based upon all the laws of physics and common sense, there is no way the United States is going to allow any drones to fly around it. They're going to blow them away. They're going to use their high velocity, high rapid fire guns and just blow them away. Absolutely not going to just watch it and take film. This film almost certainly came from one of the Siemens cameras. They have cameras too. They took some, maybe a bunch did. They managed to get some of it and delete it, but somebody got it out. What can I say? It's the new age, right? So right away, I'm saying, why aren't those being shot down? They should be shot down. A drone can sink a ship.
Right.
Drones have been used in the Ukraine-Russia war to blow up countless tanks and armored vehicles and kill thousands of people. And so the idea that we're going to let drones around an army warship, no. And so I noted that, but it's like, whatever. But then some time went by. And on May 17th of 2022, the first hearing on the UAP subject since 1968 in the House, that's 54 years, was a modest briefing hearing in the, I think it was a subcommittee of the Senate Intelligence of Armed Services. I need to confirm that, but it was one of the subcommittees. And the Scott Moultrie and Scott Bray and Bray and Moultrie were the two people running the UAP task force at the time. And they came in to give an update on what's going on to the committee. And they answered some questions. It was not a big reveal. A lot of people are expecting a lot, not much, but they were, here's what we're doing. We're doing this. We're doing that. And they took some questions. Right? A couple of the questions were pretty pointed. They came from Gallagher. But before those questions were asked, something else happened that really caught my attention. Because at that particular first briefing, hearing, under oath, in front of a committee, they chose to show that film footage of the things around the destroyer. And I'm going, why did they do that? They didn't need to do that. They didn't need to bring that in. They could have had a nice little meeting. What are you doing? How's it going? Bye. Thank you very much. Instead, they put this film up. And I immediately realized the reason they're bringing that film in is that is creating problems for them. On the internet, people are looking at that and going, what? And so they kind of deal with it, right? So they decided, hey, let's take advantage of this hearing. So they show the film, and Mr. Bray, God bless him, gets up and explains, okay, look, it's not drones. It's not what you think. It's just some of those things look like triangles. It's a deflection of the light off the camera, whatever the hell, right? And so he's essentially giving a explanation. That's why they did that, which tells you all you need to know how important that film was. And so at that point, I'm going, well, this is interesting. So this is May 17, 2022. What started happening as we move forward into the future is that craft devices, whatever, non-human origin tech started appearing over military bases and sensitive areas. To what degree, how long, it's not clear. I mean, a lot of work would have to be done to go back and review all kinds of reports and sightings and things like that. But it was happening. It just wasn't getting a lot of attention. Just another one of those things, some lights in the sky, a video turns up, whatever, not mentioning, oh, it's over this base. So this was happening sort of steadily to in late 2022, 2023, 2024, as near as I can tell. So in a sense, the UFO flap had been going on for quite a while, but because of all of the sightings that happened and all the reporting and analysis online and everything, unlike in many years ago, decades ago, it was like just part of the background noise. Okay. And then a couple of months ago, something happened. Our good visitor friends decided to up their game. And all of a sudden, huge numbers of these, quote, craft, mostly in the form of what we might call plasma balls of different sizes, balls of light, maneuvering, sometimes in formation, sometimes in numbers of 10, 15, 20, completely unexplainable, moving up in the sky, being filmed all over the country in multiple locations. Eventually, we started getting reports from the UK and other countries. In other words, it was a full-fledged, now fully manifested UFO flap, multiple countries, God knows how many different, quote, objects. And that is a major problem for the Department of Defense of the United States. What in the hell are they going to say about that? And they knew damn well that there was nothing they could say. They couldn't say, well, that's not ours. That's non-human. No, can't say that. You can't even say it's drones, really, because they're not drones. They look like drones. So the government had their back against the wall. And so I am pretty much convinced, and I said this quite a while ago, others have joined me on this, that what the Department of Defense did was the only thing it could do. Whenever these things were appearing, and it was always at night, pretty much, almost always at night, naturally, easy to see. Right. They were launching military drones up into the sky so that people would be seeing these drones as well as these other objects. And the drones, in many cases, were pretty obvious. They might have some lights on them, like a red, a green, or whatever, but they weren't planes. You knew that. Sometimes they didn't have lights, but they were clearly of size. Okay, some of these are the size of cars. Let me be clear. Our military has drones you've never seen that are unbelievable. Drone research in advanced technology has been underway and classified most countries for years. The future of warfare, assuming we continue to be addicted to war, which looks that the case, is drones. All right. We have seen drones destroying all kinds of vehicles and equipment in the UK and Russian war on both sides. But I assure you, the drones you're seeing there are probably not as good as the drones that are still back in the warehouses. And so they're launching all manner of drones up there. And so what they chose to do is the only thing they could do: put a bunch of drones up so people would see that. And so they would go, well, yeah, it's clearly drones. Now that other stuff, I don't know what that is, but there's some drones. And then they started calling it drone swarms. Brilliant. Okay, drone swarms. Okay, so that way it's all drone swarms. All right. So, okay, why did they do this? It was the only thing they could do. Here's why. If they don't launch the drones, their situation is intolerable. You can't have these many things flying over our military facilities. You're not sending up intercept planes. You're not firing at them, not doing anything, because it would be hopeless. So that's impossible. You're going to get drenched in questions. It's going to go right to the White House. It's going to be a mess. And so they've got to mitigate it. So they can't deal with it. They can't answer the questions. So they put the drones up. And then the next way they proceeded was, as soon as the questions started coming in to the DOD, to the White House, and congressional briefing rooms, well, most of the DOD, they said, these are drones. Next question. Whose are they? They're not ours. Next question. Are they another country's? No. Next question. Then what are they? We don't know. That's the best they could do. That's the only thing they could do. If after they launched those drones, people had come to what are those drones? Oh, those are ours. Then the next question is, why are they up there? Why are you launching all these drones over these military facilities? What's the reason? Can't tell you. What? They're not just over facilities. They're also over neighborhoods and so forth. They're all over the place.
Yeah, definitely.
You have a massive
report. Yeah.
You have a nationwide some sort of practice project going on, and you can't tell us. All hell breaks loose. So they can't answer that question. Okay, and if they're then so they have to say we don't know. And then if the next question is, well, are they another nation's drones? They can't say yes. If they say yes, so then the next question is, you're saying that other nations are flying advanced drones over our military facilities, and we know that, and we're doing nothing, and you can't even tell us why. Can't do that. Okay. So they had to say, no, it's not another nation. Another nation could mean China or Russia. So that's not going to work. And so they basically said, it's not ours, it's not any other nations, and we don't know what it is. And then just to be clever, right? Eventually, something developed around Chinese drones. First, there was the thing about Iranian drones coming off Iranian drone ships. That got blown up pretty quickly. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And then the idea of Chinese drones was thrown out there. So they kind of threw out these Chinese drones, right? And of course, I'm thinking, there's no way China is able to launch drones over military facilities across the United States and in the UK. But what I finally learned, right, is that maybe a majority of all the drones that are bought by American citizens, hobbyists, and so forth, guess where they come from?
China.
Right? And so those are Chinese drones. And so when people are sending up their Amazon bought Chinese drones, there's Chinese drones. Now, these are little things with propellers and stuff, right? It's nothing, but it got the Chinese drone thing. I mean, this is sheer desperation. Right, because the ETs have got them literally over a barrel, painted into a corner, locked in a room. Okay, with no window to get out. All right, so this is the best they can do, and they're taking hits upon hits upon hits. Okay, now it's still going on, and so the combination of this massive ET, non-human tech craft flap, okay, combined with the fact that there's 2 billion, 3 billion cameras in the hands of humans on this planet, and they're filming all over. And that film is going on the incredible internet and being seen by untold hundreds of millions of people and archived. All right. And combined with the legislation that's been passed, the hearings that have been held, and statements from members of Congress, you put it all together, and we're this close to disclosure. So I was my hope that the Senate would get the job done and we could have disclosure at the end of 2023. But that was possible. But as we moved into 2024, still possible. But it wasn't happening. There's always an excuse. The Senate wouldn't act. Let's face it. I understand. Politics has been extremely intense. And so at some point, it was just too late. The election was coming in November, number 3. And so they said, look, we're going to have to wait until the next administration. And so we didn't get the hearing. Okay. And then we had the election. And the election was a bit of a surprise for some people. Right. And so a remarkable thing happened. And essentially, after that election was over, the White House, the Senate, the House of Representatives, and the Supreme Court were essentially in the controlling hands of the Republican Party. This is quite remarkable. All right. And so November 3 happens. Was there a possibility to maybe hold a hearing in November? Maybe. I mean, obviously there was, we could hold the hearing in November. I'm sorry. We had 2. We had one on the 13th and one on the 19th. That was fantastic. But a chance to hold the big one, the one we needed in the Senate Intel Committee? Not likely. Okay. And so time goes by, and so that's off the table. So where things are now is this. This thing is ready to blow sky high. And let me give you another thing that just happened today. Something happening every single day. Here's what happened today, right? And I'll actually, let me do a share on this. Hang on. Going to do a little present. Going to share a screen. Here we go. All right. And then I'm going to go, okay, hang on. Screen sharing. All right. Don't show these tips again. Share a screen. And I'm going to go to here. All right. And let me see. Do you see this Ask a Poll screen? Do you see it? Is that showing?
Are you down in present? Is that where?
Yeah, I did the present, did the share. Has Ask a Poll come up?
No, it did not.
Did not. Okay, hang on.
Did not. Let me see.
Oh, wait a minute. I may not have completed it. One moment. Hang on. Let me go back to StreamYard. Okay. All right. Just a second. Okay. Select the oh, here it is. I got it now. No problem. Okay, here we go. I'm going to share this. Now do you see it?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And I need to, well, I can do this. Hang on. No, I can't. 1 second.
I have to go to the stage. Is that all right?
This is Ask a Poll. And this is the project of Matt Laszlo. Brilliant. He's a journalist. And he did something nobody else had ever done. So he sets up a Substack subscriber page, and he's building up subscribers and making a nice income. And he creates Ask a Poll UAPs. And all he does, okay, is go walking around the halls of Congress, targeting people that are dealing with the UAP issue, buttonholing them. He's got a nice, style about him. He's polite, he's respectful, and he just asks them questions about the UAP issue, and then he posts them up on his website or on his Substack. Okay, he's been doing it for a while now. I'm actually trying to get together with him, and I'm posting on my archive his stuff. And so today he puts this up. Representative Burleson, who is on the House Oversight Committee subcommittee, wants to hire David Grush and Luis Elizondo to staff the Select UAP Committee. Now, a lot of people didn't know that we don't have a Select UAP Committee. However, a lot of people don't know that's what they're trying to get done. And they're being encouraged to do it by many, many entities, including the New Paradigm Institute, which I'll show you about that later. We're going to have a select committee on UAPs very soon. And Burleson wants David Grush and Luis Elizondo to be on the staff, paid. All right, that's the kind of stuff that's happening now every day or two. So again, when I say disclosure is close, I'm not whistling Dixie. So let me see. Let me get back here to good old StreamYard. Thank you. Then I'm going to go here. Going to open it up. Get on back here. I got to stop the share. Okay. I got to go to present, stop the share, stop screen. Thank you. So that happened today. So I believe that here's the way things can happen. There is a slight possibility. There is a fair possibility. It's not even fair. I say about 20% that the House Oversight Subcommittee will hold another hearing. Now, Mesa said she wants to hold it. Absolutely. But we're also aware that Burleson wants to hold one. So maybe there's a little competition going on. See, the first one was chaired by Tim Burchett. Then Nancy Mace chaired the second one, and both of them got a huge amount of international press. Okay, so not surprising, the other members of the subcommittee, they would like to chair one, and I think Mr. Burleson is one, maybe Anna Paulina Luna, and so I'm aware that Burleson wants this, and Macy wants this, and so there's a chance we will get another subcommittee hearing in the House before the inauguration. Okay, but it's not great. Okay, wouldn't shock me. But we will definitely get one after the inauguration, okay, and the new president takes office. Now, here's some more news. Here's what we've learned. I was successful. I've been working to try to get the nuclear ICBM shutdown witnesses in front of a committee for years. The leader of that group is Bob Salas, who has been trying to do that since 1994. He is one of a number of SAC-based commanders that were present when our missiles were shut down while a UAP was overhead the base, right overhead the base. And he came forward in 1994, and there have been 4 books written, a documentary. They've held 2 press conferences, and the DOD goes, I don't know who these people are, right? They've had some reasonable public media coverage, but not a lot. And so consequently, these witnesses have never had a chance to testify, and these are huge witnesses. This is the kind of testimony that would set this issue on fire. The closest they've come to a hearing is in 2013. I produced a citizen hearing on disclosure in the National Press Club, May 29 to June 5. And this was 42 witnesses, 30 hours, 10 countries. And the nuclear weapons shutdown witnesses and some other nuclear tampering witnesses testified for about 2.5 hours at that citizen hearing on disclosure. A copy of that testimony, along with all the other testimony, was then delivered in DVD form to every single member of Congress, House and Senate, later in later 2014. All right, fine. But again, 11 years went by, they still haven't testified. However, as this has unfolded recently, I was able to take the affidavit set, the witness statements of these gentlemen, signed witness statements, including signed affidavits, that were created back in 2019 when they held a press conference at the National Press Club. And I delivered a hard copy set to all 17 offices of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, the House Subcommittee on National Security that we know about, the House Oversight Subcommittee. And I hand-delivered sets to every one of them. Then I waited 5 days and mailed sets into each of those offices to one of the staffers that would have come in 5 days later. So over a period of 10 days, 2 hard copy sets of these affidavits, I can actually maybe able to show you one, were delivered to these offices. Then I emailed an electronic version of these affidavits and witness statements to these offices and included in the email the video of these gentlemen testifying to the 6 former members of Congress at the citizen hearing on disclosure. And then after the November 13 House Subcommittee hearing, I had the good fortune, with the aid of Tyler Roberts, to meet with Nancy Mace, who chaired the committee. And we spoke privately for 20 minutes. And then she did an interview filmed by Tyler of me, her, and Robert Salas. And Robert Salas told her the basic story that he's been trying to get to the House about when he was at Malmstrom, I think, and the missiles were shut down while he was down there in the silo and so forth. A story that's been out there for a long time, but again, Congress has not addressed it. And then I followed up with her staff, and on film, Representative May said she wants the nuclear weapons witnesses shut down to testify. Boom. And Robert's been informed. And so consider that in the works. But then I had information from Burleson's office that he wanted the nuclear weapons shut down witnesses. And so he received additional information. All right. But it gets better, because on the 19th, a few days later, another hearing was held in a Senate hearing room. And this was a small hearing, a briefing, led by Senator Kirsten Gillibrand and her name escapes me. I'll think of it. It'll come to me. I have memory issues these days. But so they held this briefing, and one person testified, and that was Kozlowski, the new director of Aero. All right, so this is a significant thing, but it wasn't publicized. So there was only 20 people in the room, 20 public in the room. The other room on the 13th was packed to the gunwales with hundreds more in the hallway. Okay. And so
very interesting.
Kozlowski testifies. He asks some basic questions. He gives basic answers, nothing profound going on. He then does something appropriate. He shows 2 well-known videos and talks about how Aero has been analyzing them in great detail, and explains why they have a conventional explanation. Okay. Which was not unreasonable. One of them was the go fast, the one that was supposedly going in and out of the water. And he made the case that based upon a trigonometric analysis and all that, they felt that what they saw there was the infrared signature at times of the entity or the object was matching the ocean temperature. And so at that point it disappears because they have the same temperature, same signal. And I go, that's fine. That's cool. But then, and this was intentional, he says there were some things we couldn't explain, and then he names one. He describes one of the things they couldn't explain, and this was a huge sighting. Okay, I mean, it was really intense. And when you hear it, if you go and listen to that hearing, it's up on the internet. The Gillibrand briefing of Kozlowski, Senate, November 19, and listen to him explain that.
Include that in there for you. That'd be great.
Yeah. Okay. So that was significant, but there was something even more significant. People were dissatisfied. He didn't say anything. He didn't say anything big. It was just like, he's just talking. I understand that. I get it. They didn't understand what was happening, what she was doing. And Joni Ernst, that's the other senator. Joni, what they were doing was introducing to the public Kozlowski, because that hearing was filmed live. multiple platforms, went out around the world. The November 13th hearing in front of the House subcommittee meeting, that was on 8 different platforms, went live out to the world. So millions of people have seen these hearings. And so they're introducing Kozlowski, right? Because obviously the previous head of AARO had a difficult time. There were problems, and he had to quit. Then he signed off on the AARO study report. So it was a little awkward. And so he now got a new guy, very qualified, and she wanted to introduce him. Perfectly appropriate. Fine for me. It's exactly what I expect. But in that hearing, she mentions this. We talked with him prior to his speaking here. Now, that's totally normal. In other words, you will talk with an individual who's going to testify ahead of time, talk about what they're going to talk about and so forth, no surprises kind of thing. And then they go out and they do the thing. No big deal. She talked to him in a skiff.
That's interesting. Are you talking about Joni Ernst? Is
Joni Ernst and Kirsten Gillibrand? They're the ones that are interviewing, and I assume that both of them talked to him in a skiff prior to the hearing. Now, fascinating. A skiff is a sensitive, compartmental information facility, and the reason you use a skiff is that nobody can penetrate it and understand or learn what you're saying in there. And so that caught my attention immediately. And so I realized that in the skiff, they asked him the really tough questions, and he gave them the really tough answers without any concern that would get out until they wanted it to. And then they held the hearing. But she let it be known. I don't think she had to say that. And so she sent a message there. Mr. Kozlowski is the new director in town. It's going to be, this town's going to run a little differently now. And you can expect things to change. This is not going to be a repeat. And so they got a new guy. As we get forward, I feel nothing but sympathy for Sean Kirkpatrick. He had a difficult, impossible situation based upon how it played out. He handled it not as well as he might have, but hopefully he's got a new job and he's doing okay. Kozlowski is going to be the head of AARO when disclosure comes. And so that hearing was on the 19th, but there was not many people around. So afterwards, Ron James, my friend, we kind of cruised on up there and buttonholed Kirsten Gillibrand, who was there with her 2 staffers. And so I immediately said, Senator, I'd like to let you know that the witnesses to the shutting down of our nuclear weapons have really been wanting to testify before a congressional committee for 30 years. The leader of that committee is Bob Salas. Would you be willing to talk to Bob Salas? Oh, yes, of course I would, she said. No problem. So you see how things are going now. Has she talked to him yet? No. However, the Senate and the House adjourned the next day. Okay, then the holidays come. But Bob Salas is going to eventually talk with her. And Bob Salas and possibly Jameson, possibly Schindel, possibly Jacobs, there's some others, are going to testify before the House subcommittee. And that is a big deal. And I think it'll come early in the next administration. Okay. So the one possibility that is very unlikely is a major hearing will be held before January 20, allowing President Biden to come forward and end the truth embargo. I think the odds of that are very slim, 5% tops. Once the inauguration is over and the new administration takes over, there's some very powerful reasons why I think disclosure will happen within the first 60 days, maybe even the first 30. And here are the reasons. One, all that's happened before, all the legislation, all the hearings, all the media coverage, all the statements from witnesses that are coming forward now in greater numbers, the whole shebang. That's one reason. Second reason, okay, is that we will have a unified leadership. Everything is run by the Republicans. So there's going to be no competition for at least 2 years. And so the potential political risk of making this incredibly significant move way, way down. Okay? That's another reason. Third reason is that aside from Hillary Clinton, Secretary Clinton, no president or presidential candidate has been asked about UFOs more than President-elect Trump. Numerous occasions. I think 10, maybe 11. Now, his responses were not broad. Hillary Clinton gave broader responses, and Podesta also talked about it and so forth. But his response has been limited. Sometimes not how would you say ambiguity was present. However, he's made some also very pointed responses. And the most important one was when he spoke with Joe Rogan for 3 hours and got, I don't know, 100 million views now, something like that.
Yeah, it was off the charts.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And either by intention or design, or he just did it, he brought up the issue of UFOs. He brought up the issue of getting information out regarding the JFK files and the UFO or UAP issue in front of all those millions of people. Then the fourth reason is that we are aware there are a number of people in his, how would you say, immediate circle, close to him, as they say, who have made statements about this, and we have been told they are encouraging him to do it. Okay? And the fifth reason, maybe the most important reason, is unlike any president we have had in the modern era, he is the one, and Bill Clinton was not that president because he tried.
Right.
And the Pentagon just said, go away, leave us alone. But unlike any president in the modern era, Donald Trump is a president that if the Secretary of the Air Force or the Joint Chief Chairman calls him up and says, Mr. President, no, we can't let this out. We can't tell the truth about this. He's the president who'll say, screw you, I'm going to do it anyway. I don't give a damn what you think. And of course, he will have his appointees in key places, including the Office of National Intelligence, the Director of CIA, the Secretary of Defense. And so they're all his people. And so all he has to do is call up his people and say, look, what's your take on this? Is that real? And they're going to say, I'm pretty sure it is real. And President Trump will just say, that's it. He'll come out in the East Room and say, I, President Trump, are telling you today that, in fact, there is non-human intelligence in our world and tech, and we have bodies. And I guess we're not alone. That's disclosure. Boom. And then the hearings begin, right? Pretty quickly. Lots of them. And it's done. So the only difference between holding a major hearing to set a president up that doesn't have, I would just say, the latitude of action that President Trump will have, and then having the president come forward afterwards, which is, I think, the way to do it. It's the best way to go. And Trump could do that as well. I mean, he could just let the Senate committee that's now chaired by a Republican, look, we have that hearing now, get those people in here, and they come in, they have a big hearing, and then bing, that's it, blows it up, and he comes out. He could do that, or he could do it initially. The only difference between these two things is that if President Trump comes out on his own, I talked to some people, they told me, and I'm confirming we're not alone, other heads of state may hold back a while. They may not just jump right in, right? They're going to be surveying the situation going, we know Donald Trump pretty well, and we're not sure, whatever. And so there'll be a little delay there, okay? But then once the hearings start, they'll be on board, okay? But if we do the hearing first, the big one, the one with 20 witnesses and so forth, including the nuclear weapons shutdown witnesses, and then the president is responding to that and comes forward and says, well, clearly this shows that we're not alone. I've checked into it. We are not alone. We have this non-human tech, and that's disclosure. In that case, the other heads of state, I think, are going to be on board immediately. Like within 24 hours, they're going to be holding a press conference and saying, yes, we are aware that this is true. We can support that, whatever. And that's kind of nice. But it's either way, it's disclosure.
Right.
And so I do the math, and I'm saying, based on everything I know about the president-elect, the status of the Congress, the status of the public, and this massive UFO flap going on, I will be a little shocked if we do not have disclosure in the first 60 days or even the first 30 days of the next administration, which means we're practically there.
So once this is all disclosed, the truth embargo is ended, what do you see happening from that point on?
Well, there's several million things that will happen, but let's just pick a couple. Almost certainly an expanded UAP Disclosure Act will be resubmitted. The one we have now is okay, but it's not strong enough, and it needs to be expanded. So I anticipate another UAP Disclosure Act will be submitted to replace the one from a year ago. Whether or not it has eminent domain or not, I don't know. It doesn't have to. It's not the most important issue, but I understand why Schumer put that in there. But nevertheless, we're going to have the full act that has the powers and clarity about exactly how everything the government has related to non-human tech and bodies and their activities will be revealed to the world and archived, not all at once and selectively. In other words, some things will be held back, but there will be a basis for why that is, and there'll be reports about it. In other words, it'll be appropriate, but there will be a steady stream of documents and information coming forward, more than enough to keep the world quite content. It will take several years to get it all out, but it will be coming out. So that act will be passed. Okay. Then there'll be hearings all over Congress. Every committee in the House and Senate that has any hook, any angle on the post-disclosure situation is going to hold a hearing, because 8 billion people are going to be watching their television, wanting to know everything, right? And everything is going to be, live feeds going on all over the place. And so the hearing will have, 50 million, 100 million people watching. And it's going to make a lot of members of Congress famous, particularly the chairs. And so every committee that can justify a hearing is going to hold a hearing. Witnesses are going to be coming and going, right? They're going to have to, probably rent out entire hotels to put them up. Hopefully they should pay their airfare in their room, damn it.
I agree.
So that will happen. Okay. The media will go completely nuts. I mean, completely hysterical. I will raise my speaking fees and start touring every place I can. Okay. You can count on that. All right. PRG will raise a lot more money. All my friends and other entities, which I'll mention soon, will raise a lot of money. That's good. All of the major institutions, particularly nonprofit institutions, will create essentially an ET UAP division or subsidiary or something. So if you're the American Enterprise Institute, which is basically a conservative think tank, you're going to create the extraterrestrial division of the Enterprise Institute, which will be servicing all of the appropriate things that they need to put white papers out on that. And every entity is going to have one. There probably will be a Secretary of Extraterrestrial Affairs. The UN will be loading up as best it can. Whether it can keep up with this, I don't know. In order to properly address a post-disclosure reality, the UN needs to be significantly reformed. And if they can't reform it, they need to close it down and start up in a new global organization, much more suited to the 21st century and, just better run with a better building. Okay, so that'll happen. Okay. There will be a lot of money made. Anybody and any company that can come up with a way to, how would you say, benefit from this paradigm shift, whether it's selling T-shirts or quirky this or quirky that or whatever the hell, make a major documentary. A lot of money is going to be made for those that have foresight. And I would say, start thinking about it now, folks. If you got a T-shirt machine, you can sell T-shirts, trust me. So there will be that. And of course, there will be reassessments of just about every treaty in the world, certainly. All of our fundamental major global issues, such as climate, nuclear weapons, nuclear waste, famine, and so forth, to see if in this new environment we can actually address them in a way. Also terrorism and all this other stuff. There'll be a reassessment. This is where the real action is. This is why we must have this post-disclosure world. Those areas, okay? We have too many people on a planet that is still the same size as it was 200,000 years ago. And the population has gone from 1 billion to 8 billion in something like, I don't know, about 100 years. Okay. 120 years, 130 years. And went from 4 billion to 8 billion in 15 years. I mean, the only way it's going to top out if nature starts pushing back so hard with the various ways that it balances things out and starts slaughtering huge numbers of people and sending them to a better place. We could go to 10, 12, 15 billion, right? But there's a reason mosquitoes exist. Okay.
You're right. I know.
They are food for bats and shit, but really the reason that mosquitoes exist is to call the human population and the population of mammals by spreading disease everywhere. If it wasn't for mosquitoes, the population of this planet would probably be 30 billion and we'd all be living in a tent. Right. So that's just a taste of what is going to happen. You're going to have documentary films. The Hollywood's going to go nuts, which is why I'm going to introduce y'all to the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance and so forth, and a million other things. There is one there's one book that's exclusively addresses the post-disclosure world, and it's AD After Disclosure by Richard Dolan and Bryce Abel. Okay, I've got it in my library. It's available. AD After Disclosure. Just read that book, and you'll have more ideas about the post-disclosure world than 99.9% of the world's population.
Well, I have to tell you that I have been watching the Paradigm Research Group and you and your for about, I'd say maybe about 10 years now. So I've seen like throughout the years how there's been plans put in place. I mean, even going back to Clinton, like there was a plan, and I know, like, I think Teresa Tyndall was involved at that time or some other. Anyway, you had talked about a caretaking government, like, and people and not being able. Do you still see some of that happening, or do you think that we're going to be able to like maintain composure here and move forward?
Yeah. Well, look, one of the downsides of the truth embargo, a serious downside of the truth embargo, was that it added to the collapse of fundamental trust in American government institutions by the American people, to the point where it's literally almost existential. Okay. We're falling apart.
Definitely. So, I'll agree with you over there. 1,000%. Yeah.
If you hate your government or you can't believe anything it says, and that persists for a while, then things just start falling apart. Okay. And we're seeing it in countless ways. Okay. So there's a lot of angst and concern. Okay. And the other thing about the truth embargo is when you have a phenomena like this, which is so extraordinary, and you keep saying it's nothing there, that leaves it open to the entire world's population to try to figure out what's there. And if they can't quite figure it out, guess. And so essentially that kind of secrecy, and all secrecy in general, which is way out of control in all of the major countries, has spawned the golden age of conspiracy theories. Now, conspiracy theories are not by nature awful or evil or anything. It's basically a theory that there is a conspiracy, which is a group of people doing something bad, and you're not acknowledging it. Right? It's happening, right. And it's happening in a secreted way. And so, the more you hide, the more people worry that you're not telling the truth. And so, the truth embargo has been a giant rabbit hole builder. I mean, what do you call it? Rabbit hole creator, right? It just creates rabbit holes, thousands of them, okay? With all kinds of theories and speculations and all kinds of this. And other lies that our government has done has created rabbit holes. And people go down those holes. Some never come back. Now, everybody has a right to go down any rabbit hole they want. I mean, it's a free country, of course. But if the institutions are creating these blind canyons, and happy for you to go up there and hang out at the end of that canyon for the rest of your life, this helps them. It helps them maintain the truth embargo. In other words, if you're just going in that rabbit hole looking around and stuff that it amounts to nothing, you're not bothering us.
Right.
So one of the things the truth embargo is going to do when it ends, when you have disclosure, it's going to fill up huge numbers of these rabbit holes, and suddenly people are not going to be wasting their time. Now, one of the conspiracy theories has been around for a very long time, which has got a big following. And again, it is a son of the truth embargo, without question. Is that the United States, which has known about the ET presence and has had ET tech in its hands since no later than 47, maybe even sooner, and it's built up a massive, unbelievable massive security and military intelligence complex. It's huge, right? It's like an empire. It's got the tech and the people and everything. It'll do anything it wants. All right, fine. That they are going to create a false flag, the basic false flag. In other words, they're going to blow some things up and blame it on the extraterrestrials, and then use that as a way to institute martial law or any number of other strictures, because, hey, this is a serious problem we got here, and so, get in line, okay, and gain control. All right. Another version of this is Project Bluebeam, which is the same thing, only it uses advanced technology to create the images of saucers that really look like saucers. And so people will be actually seeing saucers do this. Or, as some people say, we have our own saucers, so they take them up there and really blow something up, whatever. But Bluebeam is referring to that laser imagery thing. All I can say is, after 29 years in this, I don't see it. And I'm happy to put, my life savings down on that bet that is not going to happen. So people that are worried about it, I would suggest chill. It's just not going to happen. It is the child of the truth embargo, but the truth embargo is a bogus parent. And so that's one thing I want to get across. Okay, so that's kind of referring to what you brought up. Martial law, caretaker governments, and all of this stuff. No, not going to happen. And the reason it's not going to happen is that we already know too much. They've waited way too long. They might have pulled this off back in 62 or 5 or something like that. Oh, yeah. 1970. But now you have an entire world that is steeped in UAP, ET, UFO, alien imagery and information and books and documents and massive numbers of websites, huge amount of communication of information, witnesses coming forward, contactees coming forward. And so you have this huge information base. So when they play this card, huge numbers of people are going, are you serious? It's going to blow up in their face. It could even launch a revolution. Because again, enough people are going to see through this. And the moment the government says, well, we're instituting martial law, because they see through it, they're going to say to the government, well, I see what you're trying to do here. Good on you. But there's nearly 500 million guns in the hands of civilians in the United States. And while that's probably not a good thing, if you're thinking about planning on martial law, all I can say is all of the National Guard and any of the Army reserves you might want to use need to start writing their wills. And so I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Happen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I agree. I agree 1,000% with that. But that's scary to think that. Okay, so I have to go back to the drones for a second. So we're seeing these drones, they're coming over, and I mean, I knew that they were going over like at the beginning of all like 3 years ago, because I was on a MUFON meeting, and they said I'm trying to think what state, borders Iowa. Anyway, in that state alone, they were getting like 70, 80 calls all at one time that they were seeing them out in their fields. They were seeing them everywhere. And then I've also seen the light bulbs. I've also seen the electrical, whatever.
Those are not drones. Those are not drones, dear. They're not drones.
No, I know they're not.
Let me be quick. Anything that's in the air and not piloted, you could call a drone. Okay? A flying trash can essentially is a drone. If it's got a pilot in it, it's not a drone. And so a plasma ball that's not piloted, you could call a drone. And the government's happy to do that. But it's good for them because you see it muddies the water, okay? And so if it's a drone, it's a drone, okay? And people say, well, I guess it's something somebody got at Amazon. No, all right? What they will not say is there's human drones and there's alien drones or ET drones. That they cannot say. And so these early reports are almost certainly ET craft, not military drones, because flying military drones it's not something you can just do for the hell of it. There's all kinds of implications to this, right? Serious implications. And those little hobby drones that go up, people are not reporting those, right? That kind of stuff. And so there's a lot of confusion deliberately created by the government about this. And I'm just trying to clear it up.
That makes sense. That's the whole problem with UFO and UAP and all these other things is that I could whip my paper airplane across, then it could be, and it's just that the terminology, how they're using that. Yeah. So I did not know that about the drones. So I'm going to be looking at that.
Propaganda is about language, and we know that language properly crafted can hold an entire nation on a leash. It can send countries to war. Books have been written about it. We know the books. We know how it works. It's incredibly dangerous. It can be awful. And it's invariably a tool of the state. Though one can make a case that most corporate advertising is propaganda, right? It's like propaganda. But it's servicing a less destructive and lethal master. But political propaganda is all about wordcraft. And I can assure you, wordcraft has been a key to maintaining the truth embargo in so many ways. And one of my jobs has been to point that out constantly. to point out that's the wrong phrase. This is the government's way to describe it. This is not how you should say it, and start using the right language in order to help get more people involved. That's why we moved to UAP and made that an option. Okay, that's why I created the term truth embargo to describe the goal of where we're going. Right? Why are we doing all this? Just so we can, I don't know, have a big UFO library in our basement, or MUFON membership, or no? Why are you going through all this? To get the truth and get the confirmation, which I call the truth embargo. I'm sorry, out from under what I call the truth embargo. And I gave that moment that finally happens in the formal way as disclosure with a capital D. These are the two, how would you say, terms that I have had the good fortune of contributing to this movement. Only 2, maybe 3 in 29 years. So it's not exactly a Herculean output.
But you have stated before that there's a difference because the Senate has a UAP, right? They have a group or an interest group that you're saying, no?
There's a UAP caucus in the House, which is a big deal. And of course, we want to see a UAP caucus in the Senate. I think there will be one. Absolutely. And there will be a UAP select committee. Again, to even say these things, I mean, 30 years ago, people would have laughed me out of the room. I mean, are you out of your friggin' mind? And I'm waiting.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Now they're all going to happen. And so the closest, there's something I noticed. I download thousands and thousands and thousands of pages and sites as part of the print media archive. And what I've noticed is when they download, it's got 600, KB, right? 600 MB, whatever the hell it is. And so it's definitely, it just creeps along, and it's like, so maybe it's 500, it gets to 390 and then 410. And then around 420, it just closes out, right? Right. So it does, it takes, and then it just really fast, it finishes up. That's what's happening here. We've been moving forward, and we're going to get to a point where all of a sudden, boom,
right?
It's a slam dunk. And we are at that point. The idea that this pace is going to be maintained, no way. Nothing short of nuclear war, a worse pandemic than the COVID, right? Or revolution in the United States is going to stop this process from basically completing.
Why now?
Well, it's for all the reasons I said.
I know, but do you think this is because we realistically are pushing ourselves right back into that corner, and I didn't see this coming. 4 years ago, I thought this is going to continue to drip, but now I'm seeing the mainstream media, Operation Mockingbird. Is it, our government that's subliminally disseminating us here?
Not going to happen. All right, let me show you something. All right, let me do a share. Okay, I'm starting to get better at sharing. I'm still not great
the first time.
Let me see what I can do here. Hang on. I'm going to share a screen here, and it's going to give me. Oh, here we go. This is good. Here we go. Right. Okay. Got this. First, let me just say, hang on. Again, a little promo here. This is Paradigm Research Group, my site. It's been up since 2018. Well, I mean, this version. I had another version goes back to 1997. And it's under reconstruction, but it's going to be the site for PRG for the foreseeable future. And the reconstruction is about converting Paradigm Research Group into a activist think tank, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to just an activist entity. And in doing so, I converted to a nonprofit. So I am a 501c3 based in Washington, D.C. Right. And I can receive tax-free tax-deductible donations now. And we're starting to get some. All right. So this is the front page. I'm going to take you to just one of the project. This is an ongoing project, and it is the Print Media Archive. Okay, I'm going to bring that up. Okay. So I bring up the flash page, and it's got some information there, and then we go through to the Print Media Archive. This is an archive of 16,000 links to 16,000 articles about UAP, UFO, ET disclosure stuff. It is triaged from probably 2 times that many articles in lesser publications, fringe stuff, or mainstream stuff that's just silly but has a reference. So these are essentially substantive articles, 16,000. The total number of substantive articles in the English language since 1947 could be in the 100,000 range. But before the internet, they're all in archived or destroyed. But if someone want to go to microfiche machines and newspapers all over the country, they could find thousands of these. But this is what you can access online. It's one of my biggest projects. In 2023, the largest number of articles was archived since I started, 1,883. Okay. This year, still the second largest amount, 1,477. Now, let me point out something here. Let me see if I can, hang on a second. Something I might be able to do here just a second. I'm going to do this. Okay. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to see if I can increase this a little bit. Okay, that's good. That's better. All right. And so what I do is I have earmarked certain articles regarding certain topics. The Arrow report, right? Early 24. Right. The election campaign, what was coming up during the campaign, this Arrow study report that came out. Okay. The House Oversight hearing, the Senate Armed Services briefing, and drone swarms. As a green, you see the green? See the green earmark?
Okay.
Now, guess what? As I scroll down, right, watch how many articles have that green earmark. Every one of those articles that has that green earmark at the front is about the drone swarms.
Wow.
This is English language press, meaning United States, Canada, Pakistan, India, UK, Australia, Singapore. All right. So it's not just the US, but it's English language worldwide. All of those earmarked with green articles are about drone swarms, 200. So this is another reason why the truth embargo cannot stand. I couldn't even begin to archive the YouTube videos, which I also get in my searches. But again, there's so many YouTube that they're in the thousands as well. And obviously they're as powerful as these articles. This is mainstream media, including the New York Times, Washington Post, every major paper, right? But the YouTube videos are obviously videos of podcasts and so forth. There are untold tens of thousands of them, and they're up on the line, and you could watch them the rest of your life. And so the truth embargo is now saying that all of this is about something that doesn't exist. So, of course, is utterly ridiculous. So I just want to mention that. Okay. So let me show you some other stuff. I showed you the Burleson thing. Let me show you, let me do a little promo. Contact in the Desert is coming up, folks, and it could be massive this year. Okay. This is the lead page. And we have one keynote speaker, Josh Gates, very well-known guy, wonderful guy. New keynote speaker is going to go up soon. And then quite a few other speakers have been listed. Okay. But there are more to go up. All right. Let's see if I got to show. Yeah, this is, again, a sense of the speaker lineup. All right. This is only partial. More are going to go up. All right. I'm in here somewhere. Okay. So Indian Wells, May 29th to June 2. This is going to be a massive event based upon all the things that are happening leading up to it. I'm going to be there, lecture, panel, workshop, intensive, the whole 9 yards. And we're going to be holding side meetings and so forth. So there you go. Okay, I want to show you that.
Yeah, I'll get that out.
Do that.
Thank you.
And let's see. I'm going to go back to the, see if anything else I want to show. Well, look, let me also mention that I'm going to be speaking at the Conscious Life Expo. Now, that's coming up February 7 to 10. Okay, and that's going to be huge. Oh, my God. It's going to be packed. So I'm doing a special presentation. I'll be on a panel. And this is some of the special events. It's going to be absolutely massive this year.
Can you repeat the conference that was?
This is Conscious Life Expo at the Hilton LAX Hotel.
Okay.
Okay. It's been around forever. It's probably the biggest event related to this subject, and as well as similar topics, related topics, consciousness and what have you, in the United States, if not the world. So look for that. Okay. So I'm going to close those two out. I also want to mention the UAP Disclosure Fund, which is one of the new organizations that is formed literally to service the post-disclosure world that's coming. Not that they're not helping with the disclosure process. And this is the first 501c4 political nonprofit tax-deductible organization dealing with UAP. And that's why it's called the UAP Disclosure Fund. And I think you can see it has some pretty significant people in it. Okay. Elizondo and Nolan, Carl Nell, Christopher Mellon, and these other fine gentlemen. Okay.
The TTSA is coming back.
So they're going to be raising money to address and affect political policies post-disclosure. And then you've got the New Paradigm Institute. Okay, newparadigminstitute.org. I think I'd like to show you that. Let me see if I can. I may not. Hang on a second. Yeah, I'm gonna have to. Let me put it up. All right, hang on. No. Oh God, Stephen, come on.
Yeah, love it.
No. Paradigm's a big word. You got to learn how to spell that, puppy, because it's going to be real important here. New Paradigm Institute. Now I got to go back. I know I have to go back to StreamYard. Okay, here we go. I got to stop sharing. Right? Or maybe it's not there. Is it there? Not there. Hang on. Okay. All right. Let's do another share. Here we go. Present. Share screen. Okay. And I'm going to go to New Paradigm Institute. There we go. And share. New Paradigm Institute, which is chaired by, essentially led by Daniel Sheehan, Danny Sheehan and his wife, Sarah Nelson, is now the leading activist organization on this issue in the world, as far as I'm concerned. It is got some decent funding, but it needs millions more to do what it has to do and needs to do. And of course, I encourage all those billionaires out there, you may want to, after you've got that $300 million yacht taken care of, think about donating into this field. It's going to be the biggest issue in all of history. You might want to be part of that. Okay, even if you're only worth $100 million, give it some thoughts. And so they have a number of programs going and calling, obviously, they want disclosure. One of the programs they're doing right now, to give you a taste of what they're up to, is they're launching a effort to get establish the Select Committee on UFOs, UAPs. Okay. And there's a way that you can contact your members of Congress. They have several of these modules up there. And what can I say? It looks like that's happening. It looks like they're going to have it. Burleson is calling for it. So, and they're just helping along. Okay. In other words, right now, what you're seeing is a huge number of the American people and significant portions of the United States Congress, House, and Senate, as well as former members of the military intelligence community, working together to get the confirmation of the ET, alien, non-human, whatever the hell you want to call it, presence. That's 77 years in progress here. We are almost there, and it's hard not to overstate that. So, New Paradigm Institute, check it out, folks. All right, I'm gonna go back to you.
What's your affiliation with them? I know you said that you were supporting their...
Danny's a colleague, and I fully support it.
Okay.
I help them with some things, but there's no official overlap. However, in New Paradigm Institute, which is a 501c3, I have directors, and so for those of you who want to know who they are Danny Sheehan and Paul Hynek, and so we are the three directors of the New Paradigm of the Paradigm Research Group. And so there is cross connections here, and there's going to be more of that. All right, between these new organizations. There's one I didn't mention, and that is the one I didn't mention. It's the Soul Foundation. Soul Foundation out of Stanford. Gary Nolan led that, and it's a science think tank. And what's the science they're interested in? Can you guess? Right?
Yeah.
Okay. ET science, both currently still up in the air with ETs and in our underground facilities, and how to take that science and run with it post-disclosure once it starts coming out. This is a major think tank that definitely needs millions of dollars of funding. So, hello, we have all these rich people out, and they do. We have a lot of rich people in this country, probably too rich, but whatever, and they give untold billions of dollars to great organizations. I think it's great, but they don't give to this. And the reason is that the government has put up a wall between all of the very wealthy people and their responsibilities and their gravitas and their image and this issue, which the government has gone to great lengths to demean and stigmatize and undermine and ridicule and to create that intellectual ghetto. And so all the people with the money they've been very timid. They don't want to invest in it. They're afraid that it would be a problem for them. Right. That's gone. That's gone. And so I'm not suggesting all the other great issues you're donating to are not important. I'm just saying that this is the biggest issue of all time. And it is all about the public's interest. And the implications are going to affect the life of everybody on the planet. And so donating some tax-free, deductible money, rather, to these entities is pretty good, as Larry David would say. You could feel really good about yourself if you support this. You are going to be helping a major change in the world, I believe, for the better. But they haven't quite got it yet, but they will. They will. And at some point, they're going to be competing with each other to see who can give more millions of dollars to the post-disclosure organizations that are going to help inform and address the post-disclosure reality.
Do you think that kind of funding would make them influential in the decision? This is my main concern, is that we go post-disclosure and the government now has control of the narrative.
No.
Okay, go ahead.
No, dear, when we go disclosure, the government loses the narrative. They have the narrative now. Disclosure puts an end to that. Now, they still have a lot of influence. They have quite a bit of stuff that's part of the secret world, but that's all going to be coming out.
Black budget.
All of it. It's all going to come out. And if anybody holds out to the end, I don't know, some super secret program nobody knows about operating under a mountain somewhere, and they're going, we're not telling anybody, and they're just cruising on. Eventually, they're going to find him. They're going to put him in jail. And so, they lose the narrative, not the other way around. They have less control, not more control. Now, some people think this is going to be used to gain control, and that is a legitimate paranoia. And I'm somebody
I have it. Yeah. Nobody did that. They have a grand history of it,
You're absolutely right. I came of age as the Vietnam War was starting, so I saw it up close. I didn't go. I have absolutely no disrespect at all for those who did.
Right.
But I quickly figured out this war was a catastrophe. And so I watched it unfold. I saw the awfulness that happened. And then the lies started being uncovered. I mean, it was just a complete catastrophe. And a lot of people's feeling about the government changed quite a bit. And it's just one of many things that has happened in my lifetime. So I'm not oblivious to that. But I see the basis for extraordinary reform is available. It's there. We have the basis for extraordinary reform. We have the mass communication capability of virtually the entire population, with some exceptions in certain countries. We have access to extraordinary technology, and we're going to have access to even better technology. We know history. We've been there and done that. And so while in some respects things look pretty bleak, certainly the potential for awfulness is there. I say, particularly with disclosure, we have the best chance ever to put the planet in order. I mean, it's that simple. I think was one philosopher said, if you want a good life, you want a productive life,
mm-hmm.
Make your bed. Right? When you get up in the morning, make your bed. Make it real nice, right? And then just keep making beds all day long, all year long, and you'll be just fine. In the world's people have been getting up in the morning for some time now, and they're not making their bed. Using this as a very broad metaphor. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And if you don't know cars, you buy a brand new car, change your oil. That's another thing that will keep you, a happy life. Change your oil. Right? If you don't, and this happened to me once, with my fault, the oil thingy got punctured and it all drained out. And so my car came to a grinding halt in the freeway. Just,
gosh,
that's it, right?
And yeah.
So I'm suggesting that the world's people, for some years now, are just not changing their oil. The governments aren't changing their oil. The institutions aren't changing their oil. And they're grinding to a halt. They're freezing up. Okay. They're not fixing things. Okay. They're not cleaning out the gutters of the house. They're not cleaning out the septic tank. They're not repairing the back porch. They're just not fixing anything, even though they're spending untold trillions of dollars. Right?
Right.
They can't put a person into space and onto the moon, but that's not fixing things. That's just showing off.
Right.
And so can we make our bed? Can we change our oil? Can we start fixing things? Right now and prior to now, I mean, going back in time, as I go back in time, a week, a month, a year, 10 years, whatever, my sense that we can do that has been extremely low. I just don't see it. And every year that goes by, I don't see it. And it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. Okay. I see it now. I see the possibility. And it's only because of disclosure. That's the only reason I do what I do. Right? Is not because I need to know there's an ET presence. I already know that. Because I want to have dinner with them? Not really. I mean, if it happens, it'll be kind of cool. Hopefully they'll pick up the check. That's not why I do this. Because I concluded sometime.
You know what? You're not an experiencer. That's not saying anything, whatever. How did you get into this, and where's your passion like derived from? Because I know where mine is, and like I said, I've seen them and I've experienced them. Where is your passion and coming from in all this?
I am a political activist.
Yes.
Who, because of various reasons, who knew about the ET presence when I was a teenager. In other words, I read things, I saw articles, and I had no bias, nothing. And logically, I read them and said, well, there's extraterrestrials here. You know? Okay, cool. I'm sure the government will tell us soon. So I knew, in a sense, always knew. The situation was that I lived through these major activist eras, the anti-war movement, the anti-Vietnam War movement, the civil rights movement, the women's rights movement, the LGBTQ, God knows what it is now, movement, okay? The anti-war movement, all of this, right? I lived through it. I did not engage. I sort of dabbled, the odd march here and there, but I did not engage, which was a result of other things. I should have. It would have changed my life. But what I didn't understand as a immature younger man is that at my core, I was an activist, but I wasn't engaging it. And so, because I'm one of these people, I read the news and I see stuff and I go, well, that's terrible. Let's do something about that. Or this war is awful. We got to stop it, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And there's a lot of people like that. No big deal. And so I got lucky at the age of 49 when all the other things I was doing was just nothing. I mean, it was just a waste of time. I didn't have, kids or cats or dogs or a wife or something like that. So I didn't have a responsibility, which obviously is, important, to devote yourself to. I didn't have that. And what I was doing was just no value at all. And I was really pretty damn unhappy. And at 49, I made a major decision. Do everything you can to get in and go where you need to go. And it didn't take long. And I figured I need to get into something that is big, way bigger than me, that I can really get into. And the ET issue was always kind of there. I started looking at it. It's got science. It's got philosophy. It's got all great stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And as I've said countless times, I guess you could say the switch that allowed me to make the transition was John Mack's book, Alien Abduction, Human Encounter with Aliens, by the Pulitzer Prize winning Harvard trained psychiatrist. Abduction. And I read it. I also got into the UFO Symposium, is the record of the UFO Symposium that he and Pritchard held at the MIT in 92, I think it was. And he published, I think, Abduction in 94. I read it in 95. And I said, this is happening. This is now going mainstream, right? And I had visions of, well, this isn't going to take much longer. This is the biggest issue in the world. Jump into it.
Absolutely.
How do you do it, though? Right?
Right. That's the best question. Yeah, right.
And I did something that if I had properly understood when I was a young man, God knows what things I could have done in this life. And that is, there is almost no limit to the things you can get into if you will volunteer. If you have to have a paycheck, you shrink that down to a tiny fraction of options. And so I said, fine, I'll volunteer for John Mack's organization. And I somehow convinced him to let me do that. So I drove from California to Boston, spent 4 months there, wonderful time, met John Mack, met a lot of contactees, my first ones. And when my time was kind of coming to an end, because I wasn't really a fit for this very academic organization, I realized, okay, I'm in. What can I do? And that's when that activist in me and my long time in Washington, I spent many years living in Washington, D.C., working in Washington, D.C., and so forth. I mean, a good third of my life there. And I said, I'm going to go to Washington and engage the politics of the issue. It's that simple. And as I've said countless times, I'm sure people have heard this, the realization that I came to, I think, was extremely critical. And not many people had come to this realization at the time I was doing it. I think maybe some had, but there'd been almost very little. There'd been some, no question. There'd been some of this happening from 90 to 96, some, but I didn't know about it. So it wasn't particularly well known, is that getting this issue resolved is not science. It hasn't been science for decades. It's been proven over and over and over and over and over and over again.
I agree.
The reason it isn't known or accepted is because the government has said it can't be. It has said it's not there. It has intervened in the truth process for national security reasons, which is political. Okay? 100%. And so this is a political problem. And therefore, it has to have a political solution. Yeah. And so I went to Washington, set up Paradigm Research Group, and that's how it happened. And then once I got into it, my political activist psyche, this who I really was, which I would not use, just emerged fast. And so I became a full-fledged political activist in a rather unusual issue that didn't have a lot of people doing similar things. I mean, I was the first lobbyist for almost 19 years. All right. Which is good for me. I mean, it gave me a head start and got me some attention. But as I got into the issue, I started to learn more. I got a clearer picture of the problems of the United States, the abuses of the military intelligence complex, the effects of the nuclear arms race and so forth. And major problems the U.S. government has that is undermining it and putting it at risk. And particularly, I got very much on the nuclear weapons proliferation, nuclear war issue, because it turns out the nuclear war issue is directly connected to the ET presence. And so I basically am, at core, a highly committed anti-nuclear war, anti-war activist, right? But it's nuclear war, right? So I'm not out marching against the various wars we've done since then, Iraq, Libya, pick one, pick a country. I'm not out marching there. I got my area that I can contribute. There's only so much you can do. But essentially, I am an anti-war activist disguised as a disclosure activist. And the reason for that is simple. And Danny Sheehan has made this jump, and so have I and others, that the one chance we have to end our addiction to war and all of the awful waste that is created and the slaughter and the damage is disclosure. Nothing else even remotely could take us where we have to go. Nothing except disclosure. And so disclosure is a worldview paradigm shift of unprecedented proportions, global and extraordinary. And so in the aftermath, the afterglow of disclosure, as the entire world is learning, there's 200 billion stars in our galaxy and 200 trillion, and these are rough numbers, galaxies in our known universe. We're not alone. And Lord knows what's out there. And all we have to do is find a way to move star to star. And man, we can have some real fun. Or some other possibilities, whatever. In that it's going to put our petty differences, our stupidities, our biases, basically most of our mental deficiencies, personality issues, in perspective. And open the door to fix them. To make our bed, to change the oil. And the metaphor that I use, and we can end with this if you don't mind, is that the way to look at disclosure is a master key, right? Like people that are managing entire, big office building things, right? They got a master key to every single office, right? So they can go into any one of them and deal with whatever's the problem. It's a master key that doesn't exist, but will exist after disclosure. And it opens any one of 1,000 doors that can't be opened now. And behind each one of those doors is a room. And each one of those rooms is a bed that needs to be made. All right? Something that needs to be fixed. Mm-hmm. And now that we have the key to at least get in the room, we can start fixing things and get us out of this god-awful mess that we have put ourselves into. And when I say ourselves, I'm referring to the 8 billion. Not everybody is in a mess, though they could still pay a heavy price for not fixing things. But there are people out there sailing on $600 million yachts, and they're not probably thinking like I am, and that's fine. But there's 8 billion people here, and at least 2 billion are in extreme distress. In a world where anybody can get a weapon and anybody can build a bomb, and there's a lot of ability to move around, this will not end well. Even if we don't have a nuclear war, this will not end well. And no government, no philosopher, no political genius has even come close to explaining how we can get out of this. They don't even try anymore. Okay?
They don't either. Yeah, I know.
They just put forward little narrow things that they can do. Okay, we can get, the cost of drugs down, or we can lower the price of gasoline or whatever. I mean, they pick things. Some things are, non-trivial. I get that. But in terms of the larger issues that put everybody at risk, they got nothing. They got nothing. And so we got a limited amount of time here. And I would suggest that the intervention of this drone swarm, what we call drone swarm, the intervention of this UFO flap, where they've literally just gone to town, right? They're and picking facilities you can't ignore. They're not flying these.
A couple, yeah.
They're not flying these swarms over the middle of Nebraska. They're flying over military bases. You can't miss it, right?
Right.
That they've lost patience. They're trying to close this out. Okay, they're trying to get it done. Disclosure is where this has been going all along, and they're trying to get it done. They're forcing the action, which I like to call an intervention. Okay, now most people know what an intervention is, and the reason they know about that is the first world countries, and certainly the United States, has just got a real big number of addicted people. We're addicted to almost everything. We're addicted to drugs and cigarettes, food, and gambling. You name it. There's almost nothing we're not addicted to.
Oh, yeah. I know.
And so in people's lives are getting ruined, right? People commit suicide. This is all happening and increasing. And so people are intervening. So you get this intervention, right? Where some friends and family get together and they ask you to come over for dinner or something, and you show up and there they all are, sitting around the walls of the living room, and they have a seat. Sit on the couch. And you're going, oh, shit.
Get out of here. Yeah.
Everybody knows.
Usually the ones that need it. So I don't.
And we're here to help you get better, right? We're here to give you the strength, support, and love so that you can get out of this addiction. Because until you end the addiction, these other problems you're dealing with, you can't fix them. And sometimes they work. And the intervention works.
Find something you're equally and passionate about. So
exactly. And so my suggestion for a metaphor for those that are searching desperately for one is that this giant UFO flap that's underway right now is in fact a real intervention on the part of the extraterrestrials. And we are the target of that intervention. And so the obvious question is, well, what are we addicted to as a civilization? And the answer is war. I'd like to leave you with that, kiddo. Yeah.
Can I ask you one addition? That right there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's my formal thing. We'll end there. Now I'll take some questions and we'll wrap it.
Okay. So my big question is last time I talked to you, and this is my only concern, is that what will happen to the civilian experiencers upon post-disclosure? Like I've shared so much online that I'm like, there's no possible way that I can get my story back in the box. There's no way I can get it back.
No. Post-disclosure, everybody's going to want to know a contactee. Everybody. They're going to be thinking, who do I know? Who do I know? Who do I know? Right? Right.
Yeah.
And cousin,
that's what I'm most worried about. Yeah, I get it.
No. Cousin, Sarah, who brought this up at Thanksgiving dinner last year or 2 years ago and got laughed out of the table and went, crying into the living room. They're going to be on the phone trying to get Sarah. Sarah, hi, are you coming to Thanksgiving dinner this year? We hope you'll join us again. We'd love to talk to you. Okay. And then they're going to get there and she's going to sit down and they're going to have all the turkey and everything. And they're going to be looking at her and they haven't even cut the friggin' turkey. And they're going to be saying, Sarah, dear, could you talk a little bit about your contact events that you had? Could you, just talk? We'd like to know more. They're going to be the stars of the post-disclosure era because the entire world wants to know about the ETs. And who knows more about ETs than a contactee, right? If you've been on the ship and in their actual presence, I guess you know quite a bit. And you're not going to get it from the Secretary of State. You're not going to get it from the head of the National Science Foundation. You want to find out about ETs, you need to talk to a contactee. They're going to give lectures. They're going to be asked to every party. They're going to be vaunted. I think it's vaunted. They're going to form probably their own political entities. Political action committees or so forth, in which they will then seek, how would you say, either, maybe not redress, but seek to have a collective influence on post-disclosure political policies. Because the contactees, really, there's a lot of issues there. It's not simple at all. And that needs to be addressed. And so they'll go political. Okay. That's what's going to happen to them.
Will they go to government facilities and be tested and probed, do you think?
I'm sorry. Repeat that.
I'm just saying in our government's history, let's be realistic. And even if it does collapse, there's still people in there. I'm just saying, like, I've heard that there's lists maybe that have been made, like facilities testing things like that. Is
you mean okay? List of people.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So
now look. Okay, I'm speaking in very general terms. Mm-hmm. Anybody that was involved in a military-run abduction type thing, which may have happened, where they abduct somebody who they know is a contactee in order to get information from them, and they get whatever they can using very, sophisticated drugs, and then they do some memory blocking, or somehow instill in them the memory that this was an alien abduction or what have you. People like that are kind of in a special situation, but the willingness of people to hear that story will obviously dramatically increase. And that's an area where contactees may come together in a political way to seek redress. And how would you say, what's the word for it? Payments and something to take care of the abuse that was taking place. But beyond that, if there's some contactees that are hidden away somewhere and being used and it's really awful, this whole thing is coming out, I suppose it's possible they may have to dispose of them. But I think these are unlikely. I mean, and by the way, I and all the colleagues I know are going to be pushing for truth and reconciliation right away after disclosure, immediately going to try to get that law in there that says whatever you did, if you were a MyLabs person and you were abducting human beings and sticking needles in them or whatever you did, even if you were ordered to kill somebody, which probably could have been interpreted as an unlawful order that you should have not done, you can come forward. And if you explain everything that happened, name names, the whole 9 yards, you will be reconciled to society and you can live your life. That's what the truth and reconciliation is. I will absolutely push for that. If we haven't already got really strong witness protection, we'll do more of that, but I think we'll get that early. And then amnesty. Amnesty is different than truth and reconciliation. Amnesty is where there's a law that says that as you're giving out information, okay, you're doing what people want you to do, but in the process, you kind of make a mistake and you violate a law, okay? It wasn't intentional or even it was intentional, it doesn't matter. It's all part of the process, but it gets sideways with a particular law. No problem. you have amnesty for that. Okay. So those two acts, amnesty and truth and reconciliation, essentially protects everybody from any problems. And there's no reason, therefore, for them to do anything else except give up the information, open up those facilities, don't do any harm, don't shred any documents. You're okay. These laws need to be passed quickly post-disclosure. They might even get passed before disclosure, but I doubt it. And believe me, we're well aware of that. All of the major players in the field, Danny Sheehan, Steve Greer, all of them, they understand the need for amnesty and truth and reconciliation acts. They will be passed. And so again, I think it works out. I think it's going to be okay. At least, and if it doesn't, don't blame me. Right?
I'm coming to Washington D.C.
Right? It didn't work out. Not my fault. All right. I will simply slowly slide off the stage, maybe head on down to New Zealand, right? Get a little beach cottage, right? Watch the sun, watch cricket matches.
Glasses with the mustaches, yeah.
I definitely. Every activist, I assure you, does have a sort of mini nightmare. I don't care what the field is. I don't care what the issue is. And that is that, you're pursuing what you think is the right thing to do. You're pursuing whatever. But there's a possibility that when it all plays out and you got what you want, it actually made things worse. There's always that possibility. And that's a risk you take. You can never know for sure. Right. And so that's always there. I don't lose sleep over it. But I don't, disavow the fact that it could happen. And if it does, that would be unfortunate. But I feel pretty good that we're going in the right direction on it.
What about, can you explain a little bit about Operation Shiftstorm that you have?
Well, Shiftstorm is something I set up back when they were trying to sabotage that bill. It's still up, shiftstorm.org, SHIFT. It's just one of the ongoing projects of Paradigm Research Group, and it's simple. It gives you some Twitter handles, at so-and-so, at this, at that, you know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. So if you're on Twitter and you type up a message, we want a UAP select committee, okay? Mm-hmm. And then you post that and you put in these Twitter handles that I'm providing, at Senator Schumer, at Nancy Mace, whatever. All of this message, this one message, goes into the notification box of every one of those members who have Twitter accounts. Almost every member of Congress has a Twitter account.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, now that doesn't open their feed; it goes in their notification. Now, those notification boxes are important. That's where, unless you have a DM up there, and very few of them have that. They don't have DMs; they just have notification boxes. Right. So something involving you goes out on Twitter or X. Not really crazy about that name. I like to call it Twitter X.
Twix. I don't even know what to call it.
It's not bad. I never thought of that. Twix. I've sent a Twix. I love it. Okay, good. This is good. Good material. Then all of those messages go in the notifications box. And because those notifications can be important, almost in every case, a member has a staffer's, one of their jobs is to check the notification box where they see these messages. And if they see enough of them, they may pass it on to the member and say, we're getting a lot of notifications about a UAP. Again, it's late. A UAP select committee, right? Okay, so now Dan Sheehan is set up so you can send them emails. They got this automatic email thingy, and that's really important. No problem. And they look at those too. But Shiftstorm is about Twitter handles or X handles or Twix handles is what it is. So that's just one of many projects. So go to Paradigm Research Group and you can see all the projects. Believe me, the site has got some stuff to be done to it. There's some places where it doesn't have what it should have. And but it's closer to where I want it than it was 3 weeks ago.
So that's awesome because I looked through that and I definitely will participate in it. And my last question, I promise, is
okay.
Just one more. I'm going to sneak in there. Have you ever thought about combining? I know that I'm saying now that I heard your whole explanation behind this and getting a list of real experiencers to have on your post-disclosure side. I see more of us being willing to operate with somebody who's in our community than government. Because I hear government and I want to hide under my bed. I will not do the work of the government. I can't at this point.
Look, there are plenty of people dealing with contactees out there. There's organizations, there's Opus, there's others. and any one of them should take this on. This is outside my strike zone, and maybe a brand new one. But you're absolutely right. An extent organization or a brand new organization, and get some money together. Again, you multimillionaires out there, you heard what I said earlier. Okay, here's a place to really make a difference with all those giant dollars you made in the arbitrage. They're going to do that. They're going to start compiling or, asking for contactees to sign on with them and building up a very large list of just contactees to then do things with, to organize and what have you. They are going to come together. I am absolutely certain. I can't imagine how many contactees are going to come out of the closet post-disclosure.
Talk to thousands of people.
A big number. And there'll be some fakes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
There'll be some fakes, want to get some attention. That's all right. It's okay. It's all right. But believe me, we're going to find out how many contacts there really are, because after disclosure, they're going to start coming out of the closet. And then the numbers are going to grow very quickly. And as I've said many times,
smart for you though, who's got a handle on post disclosure. Like, wouldn't it be smart for you, like, in getting all this stuff passed, I guess, in your post disclosure, and getting the things that need to be done, and them on board with things that you would be.
What are you referring to? What thing to get done are you referring to?
Well, I'm saying that if you're saying this is going into a different type, where the experiencers who have been like, we have all been like, oh, whatever. Okay, so we get pulled up. It's taken seriously. Like, I have 3 of the experiencers, like, all from the government. And I'm saying nobody is taking it and doing anything good with it. If you were to do it and protect the experiencers and let them come out on your own terms, wouldn't that put a place for you in history? Because you've already got one part of it set up.
Well, first of all, what you're describing is a huge task. I'm already way overloaded. I cannot do any more. I mean, and there are other people far more suited to do this, and there are organizations already out there, and there's support organizations for contactees. You don't hear as much about it, but it is out there. It's not hard to find.
I know.
Just start Googling contact organizations, and they, who are invariably run by contactees, they need to bring these people together, right? And then I can work with that group. But I can't be the one to do that.
I was just thinking of a think tank. I talked to thousands upon thousands over the span of when it started happening in my life. And I'm just saying that they're not the people, they're not the most trusting people, let's say.
But after disclosure, a lot of their paranoia will go away. They're going to get acknowledged. They're going to feel able to be open. It's going to be a totally different situation after disclosure. Before disclosure, not much is going to change. I mean, look, the situation is far better than it used to be. There's no question. There's a large number of people that have come out, but until disclosure, no. And it is a fact, and I think almost all contactees know this, that their experience and their evidence is really not something we can use to advance this process politically. In other words, to get the Congress involved, to get the disclosure, to get the legislation, we have to set them aside. And I would understand anybody that would think, well, that's wrong.
No,
it's the reality. Okay. The truth embargo is difficult to overcome. And the contact evidence is just more than the institutions can handle. Now, after disclosure, they have no choice. And so I assure you that in terms of the public's interest, all 8 billion out there, okay, X number are going to want to know the specifics about what tech you have, okay? And we're interested to know. Y number are going to want to know what is going on with the extraterrestrial contact, the genetic work, the hybrids, and all that stuff. That is what they're going to want to know about, and they're going to want to hear it from the researchers that have been dealing in the issue for years, but they're also going to want to talk to contactees. That is the most personal, compelling information for the vast majority of all 8 billion people. And so they are going to be the center of this. So I'm just saying, they're going to have a great time. if they choose to. They can remain in the closet if they want to. It's their choice. But if they decide to come out and engage the world is going to be ready to engage them. And they have much to say. And let me tell you, the dealing with the secreted technology is not that big a deal. The government did this, the government did that. They'll let it out. People will say, thank you so much. We can use it. Oh, thank you. We got this and it'll be great. Fine. It's it'll be all right. But dealing with contact, the government having to deal with contact is not so easy. Okay. It's real simple. Mr. The director so-and-so. Okay. It's a hearing. Director so-and-so. When did the CIA or the DOD know that humans were being taken up for various reasons, including genetic issues and things like that, possibly in creating hybrids and so forth? About 1957. Really? Yeah, about 1957. Lying would not be an option post-disclosure, I assure you. Why didn't you do something about it? And there's only two answers to that. One is there was nothing we could do. That's a tough one. Or we cut a deal with them that we wouldn't do anything because they gave us some tech. That's a really bad one, and that's about it. So I assure you, the contact issue is going to be the most challenging thing that the governments are going to have to deal with post-disclosure. And I'm sure on their list of reasons why it must never happen is that. It's not, oh, they're going to find out about our secret tech. No, it's not that. It's they're going to have to account. All right? They're going to have to explain what they knew, what they didn't know, why they couldn't stop it, whether they had a deal. And of course, when you talk about hybrid children and stuff, I mean, my God, then the other question is, where are they? And are genetically modified humans here? I mean, these are really heavy duty stuff. I mean, compared to have you got a 0 point energy? Well, I mean, in terms of societal change, that's huge. But in terms of the wonders of the universe and what the hell's going on here, believe me, it's in the contact area where the really interesting stuff is, and it will come out. And getting disclosure is one of many reasons is to get it out, to end this, to take these people out of the closet, and hear what they have to say. And really learn the intimate details of the ET engagement, right? It's obviously more than just flying around in the sky and butchering the odd cattle or putting down the odd crop circle. And we're never going to learn about this until post-disclosure. Or at least it will not be developed into a collection of information that we can then build on, right? But let me add to this, and we got to close with this.
Okay.
Is this. And I've said it many times. The end game for this has got to be open contact. It's just no other way this can end, and where it's all been leading to. And there's plenty of evidence for that. When we get disclosure, we're going to have open contact pretty soon after that. I some people say a year, some people say 2 years, some people say 10 years. I say 2 years. I like 2 years. Okay. I mean, that's the over and under for me, right? I think you got a 50-50 chance whether you go under 2 or over 2. So if it goes up on FanDuel, place your bet. The point is that it's all heading to open contact. So while people are going to be, all excited about the tech and talking to contactees and they're setting up university programs and all this stuff, and we're learning, and the whole world is getting up to speed, and it's all fun and games. Year, 2 years out, all of a sudden, we're going to learn. We're telling you today, informing you today, that your government, the United States government or the French government, the EK, whatever the hell, or the UN, is in direct contact with that non-humans that we know about, right? And the ETs have told us about. We are in direct contact with them, and we have communication, and we're going to the extent possible, we're going to convey all of that or most of it to you, so you know what the discussion is. That's open contact. I'm not talking about sitting down at a table, in a boardroom. No. Could happen, but I don't think so. It'll be open contact of a typical type, communications.
Is that why they need the experiencers then? The civil, is that why they need? Because everybody who's experienced it has had open contact with them.
Well, no. Well, Yeah, that's what. But that is private contact. Okay. But it's it is private, right? In other words, it's not open in the sense that like, well, everybody knows. Okay, it's happening in a bedroom, right, or on a spaceship. Open contact,
right? It's literally off the world, yeah,
out in the open, and so it's likely that the real details of why they are doing what they do with humans, cattle, and crop circles is going to come from them. We will literally ask them and they will tell us the why. There's a lot of reasons why they would do that. And that will be cool. I want to live long enough to get that. I mean, that's going to be super cool. Now, would they lie to us? Yeah, sure, they could. All right. But whatever they say, we have a huge body of information to compare to it. So why do they have to lie to us? Why don't lie to us? They didn't do that. So open contact. And so and then again, so if we can just get disclosure done, which we're way late. I mean, we should have done this a long time ago. That puts us just a couple of years from two things: open contact with extraterrestrials, and Lord knows what can come from that, and access to and utilizing and developing the technologies that governments have sequestered in order to support the truth embargo and putting them to use to service the planet and the human condition. Extraordinary stuff. All of that could be just 2 years away if we could just end this stupid truth embargo. And if we'd ended it back in the Clinton administration, we'd be 20 some years into the post-disclosure world. We could be in a totally different place. And so history will look back and say that whatever the rationale for starting the truth embargo, maintaining the truth embargo, they made a colossal blunder in holding on to it as long as they did. It created it did untold damage, prevented an array of fixes and so forth, resulting in a lot of pain and suffering and destruction. It could have been avoided. And it was a colossal blunder of galactic proportions. I think that's what history will say. But as long as we get it done and move forward in the long run, we'll be very happy. So that's why it's easy for me to do what I do, though lately I've been a little stressed and I'm having trouble getting out of bed.
Well, I know you've media, you've had a lot come down on you. So I really appreciate you keeping in contact and keeping this up to date on what's going on. I would love nothing more than to hear. I'm fascinated by the think tank and before I guess you go on your, it's going to get busy, I know, during the summertime, but I would like to check in again with you if that's okay.
Look, you call me anytime for podcasts. I've had people call me 10 minutes and say, I just lost my guest. This is what I do. This is the one thing I can do. I don't have the funds to create things. Okay. Others do. I don't have that. I'm a citizen activist. All right. And a communicator. And so my job is to help people understand what's going on, provide the right language, inform and what have you, and in that sense advance the truth embargo as well as some activism. Right. I'm pretty sure I've given more interviews than any person ever on this issue.
I bet you
no disrespect to Richard Golden or Stan Friedman or anything else. No, pretty sure because it's over 2,000 interviews.
That's awesome.
So that's what I do, and I like doing it. And so my job is to do that. And so that's why I did it. I did an interview last night, 5 minutes notice.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was Gary Anderson. Gary Anderson's Night Drinks Radio. He lost his guest 10 minutes before show. He called me up. I did the show. No problem.
That's awesome. That is awesome about you. Like anytime I've asked you, you've always been like, yeah, no problem. So that's phenomenal. Like and some of the questions that I have, you've always, taken them into consideration and answered them. So,
you're part of the podcast arm, which is changing the information matrix. It is created is part of the golden age of citizen journalism, and it's grown at a lightning speed. Millions and millions of podcasts, and you're part of that. And the collective force of that podcast army is only just being assessed. All right, history will look back and go, "Wow, that was a big deal." Social media was a big deal. iPhones or cell phones, big deal. Okay. And obviously the internet, all that. Podcast is maybe an even bigger deal. It is the coming together of really good, cheap technology really good, cheap, or even free editing technology, right? And an unbelievable bandwidth worldwide to broadcast to, so anybody could do it. And then because the internet is big, not only can you have millions of broadcasts, almost all of it are archived. And so you've got this massive archive of stuff being generated all the time. Some of it's crazy, some of it's this, some of it's fake. The point is the truth is in there, and it is virtually everywhere. And so the governments that are thinking, we can just play with the truth as long as we're here. No big deal. We put it over on them. They know what they're doing. We'll get away with this. No, they're not. In fact, we're coming to a point very soon where unless you deal with the right podcast, you will not get elected. You hearing me here? Mm-hmm. In other words, unless you can get on and engage the right podcast, you will not be elected to office. That's how powerful the podcast army is going to be. And you're part of that army, kiddo, and I am there for you.
Oh, I appreciate that. I really do. So I'm going to start pushing to end the truth embargo, because that's definitely, we can all agree on that. That needs to end and the truth needs to come forward. So
if you make your way to Conscious Life Expo or Contact of the Desert, love to see you.
Yeah, no, one of the two of them I think I will be going to this year. So I'd love to see it, and I'll come hunt you down.
Very good. Must go, dear.
All right. Well, thank you again, Steve. I appreciate it so much.
You're welcome.
I'll be in contact soon. So thank you so much. And thank you to all our listeners out there. So it'll be aired on Helix Rock Radio, up on Speaker. We've got all sorts of platforms that we were extended to. So we want to get this message out there, and I'll put all the information on how to, end the truth embargo and information on Project Storm. Is that, I just moved it.
Shiftstorm.org.
Shiftstorm.org.
Don't forget
I'll get all those out there. Yeah, definitely. And let's end this, and let's get the truth, and we can go from there. Right. Sounds great. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Bye.
Bye.
All right.
Thank you, everyone. Stephen Bassett is absolutely one of the most fascinating people I think that I have had the honor of interviewing. Like I said, experiencers and everybody who is listening and heard that message, we do need to find a way to find common ground. We do need to come together, because it's not just one person that's going to end this. It's going to take an army of us connecting between one another, not only to stay safe and stay out of those government facility testing places, but also for the truth, because we are the ones, I truly believe that the experiencers are the ones that hold that. A lot of things that people can't understand and I didn't understand prior to this are just unbelievable. So, in doing this over the time and over years and everything, you start to put together the pieces. And even if there is deception in there, there's still nuggets of truth. So if this is truly what it is, and it's giving the world, like, I agree, Mr. B, like, united we stand, we have to stand that way, and I hope that we find some excitement in the world again here, and some, hope, I guess, altogether, and truth, because for some of us, it's been so frustrating. Like, I've been going around telling me, my whole spiel, like, and I've just noticed recently that people in the community are reaching out and asking me directly, which they never did before. But in that, it was a little alarming to hear that, the news media are no, so I think that it's a good thing to be prepared for. And I don't know if anybody has the means. I have 3 of the surveys that they gave. One is the Roper poll, in looking for exactly what they're looking for in experiencers, what our government was looking for, what like NIDS was looking for, what Robert Bigelow was looking for. So I have all 3 of those together. I tried to bring them to light to put together an experiencer database, and let me tell you, the CIA shut that down in like seconds. So, and we had it all together like pretty secure. But if anybody has the means to do that, or has an idea or a project or anything, now's the time, and I'm definitely willing to help. So just a normal person, you can look me up anywhere. All my social media is on there. I'm more than willing to talk with anybody on that. But I think it's really important in hearing this that we also have our plan, because just in case the government, they are trying to, we're struggling right now. This is about controlling the narrative and
for us to regain control, or did we ever, to gain control of the narrative of our own lives, of our own truths. So I just all about it. So like I said, thank you everybody for listening. Hi, John. I'm going to go through chat real quick because I've seen some just really wonderful. Shelley Montgomery. I mean, thank you for all your input, James. I mean, it's great to read it because Derek, I really appreciate it. And we even saw our Tim in here, Tim Mothman. He'll be back soon. He's got some moving and stuff to do. So, yeah, definitely. If I missed your name, I apologize, but I'm really going to try and get better at acknowledging who's in our chat because we want to get your questions answered too. So, like I said, if I missed anything, feel free to like shoot me an email or DM or something, and I'll go directly. If not, put you into direct contact with that person. So, again, we appreciate all of you, and I hope that you're enjoying your Saturday night because mine's just beginning, but I, enjoyed spending it here. This is a topic I could talk about for hours and hours. So good night to you, and thank you very much.